Welcome back. I am back with Dr. Stefani Kappel here today, the formulator of MDAiRE skincare line and my best friend.
And your favorite person.
Yes. And we are back with another fun video today because we want to talk all about her retinol, because honestly, you guys, there's no other retinol like this, and it's just formulated so advanced and so differently that you can actually use her retinol during the day. And that's kind of what we wanted to cover today, because a lot of people have been asking me, and I'm sure they ask you too, they're like, how can I use this during the day? You're not supposed to use retinols during the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many vitamin A derivatives or retinols on the market today are photo unstable, so they become inactivated by UV light or even visible light, and if they don't, they're too irritating. So it's been my passion project, because retinol and vitamin A derivatives are so important for skincare. I wanted to formulate one that my patients could use morning and night without getting sensitization, without getting that red dry peely effect, but having it work really well. So it's been my passion project, working with scientists and just picking all the scientists in the medical community, their brains, people, a lot of them are even in the pharmaceutical industry, not even in the skincare line or industry, to formulate one that will be effective without sensitization or irritation and can be used morning and night. Because I also want to simplify a skincare routine for people who, can't get a lot for the morning.
Who aren't like us, who have 80
products in the morning and 80 in the night. Can I use one product day and night?
Exactly.
This is one that you can, and it will maintain efficacy for sure.
Yeah, which is, like I said, I get questions about that because it's just so rare.
Yeah.
Like when you look at all the retinols on the market.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's worth it.
But let's talk about why.
Yeah.
Why are most retinols night only? And why do they cause redness, peeling, flaky skin?
So the redness and flaky skin comes from when it's not inside the cell, or it'll temporarily go inside the cell, bind to the receptor, but then it gets broken down and dissipates into the extracellular matrix, which is where all of your immune system cells come in, your lymphocytes and your macrophages and your eosinophils, all these cells that are going to cause you to have that red, dry, peely effect, the itchiness, the tightness, that irritation that you don't want. So I wanted to formulate one that stayed inside the nucleus, that bound certain receptors with a higher affinity, which is scientific terms for staying where it needs to be and doing its work, not going outside into the extracellular matrix after it works for 2 seconds and just causes a bunch of inflammation and redness and dryness and peeliness. So that's why it's called the RXR retinol, because it binds the RXR and the RAR retinol, which is inside the nucleus of the cell, to do all the work. It's a workhorse. So it's going to upregulate genes that are going to increase cellular renewal, stimulate collagen, stimulate elastin, shrink down the pore size, and have all those amazing effects that we know that vitamin A can have, minus all that sensitization and sensitivity.
So when you say someone's using a retinol and they're getting a lot of red peeling skin, is that because it's all just floating around?
Yeah, it's just floating around outside the cells where it's not going to do any good anyway. You want it inside the cell, inside the nucleus of the cell. That's where all the DNA transcription translation happens. And that's why I wanted to name it the RXR, because you want it to be where it needs to be, not outside just dissipating into the extracellular
and then creating inflammation in your skin.
All this inflammation. So if you look under the microscope from irritation from retinols that don't stay inside the nucleus, and I've looked at this extensively and run my own assays in a research lab investigating this. So if you look under the microscope, here's your little, your skin cells, your fibroblasts that make collagen, all your keratinocytes, and then kind of the matrix that they live in, that's where all the broken down pieces of the retinol and vitamin A derivatives are, and then all your immune system recognizes that as an antigen or something foreign that it needs to fight off, and it just causes this positive feedback, where you're just, getting sensitization and that red, dry, peely effect. You will get used to it eventually, but who wants to get used to that? You don't need to
and some people never do even. So
I think that it's important. I mean, now if you use 10 pumps of this on a dry face or a wet face, it may cause a little bit of sensitization, but not nearly what what other retinol and vitamin A derivatives can.
And I think what we were talking about before too is her retinol. You have it
microencapsulated,
which is
really
huge.
important.
It is so important for retinol.
So microencapsulated with affinity to receptors to where it needs to go. It's kind of like having somebody wandering around with a key not knowing where to go, and somebody with a more effective key going right to the door.
I just have to say, I love your analogies.
Yeah, when I teach the derm residents, I have to do everything with analogies.
It's so
I'm
good.
all about analogies.
So
I'm
good.
These people running around with the wrong key, not knowing where they're going. You have the right key, and you're going to the right door where all those anti-aging genes are, and you need to go in there, turn it on, and stay in your room, not go outside creating havoc. Yes. It makes more sense, right?
That's so good. Yeah.
But it is hard. It is hard to engineer, and that's why it took me 2 years to fully even try to develop this in such a way to where it's going to be more effective, less sensitization, and and more efficient. And so running assays in labs, doing skin biopsies, these kinds of things, I really went through, because it was it's just like my passion project anyway. So I loved doing it. But that's where a lot of skincare lines, they don't put their
they kind of like cut corners or like make it easy.
Right. And that's why I would never white label. I wanted to engineer this myself because I knew exactly what it takes to get a good vitamin A derivative into the skin cells where it needs to go without all this other fluff or craziness going on. So I wanted to be effective and efficient, and that's why I wanted to make this product.
Why? Let's talk about the whole sun sensitivity aspect, because yours obviously you can use it during the day. There's no sun sensitivity.
Yeah.
So how does that how is that different from like the ones that do?
Right. So it's microencapsulated, which makes it stable in UV light and visible light, HEV light, and during the daylight. So it stays protected, and it goes into the the cell and in the nucleus of the cell where it has its effect. But sometimes when it's not microencapsulated, or when it's engineered or coupled with other ligands or other formulations that allow it to be photostable but can cause increased sensitization. So it was hard to get one that was photostable and non-sensitizing. And as far as my knowledge, I don't know one that exists out there, which is why it was the impetus for me to engineer one. Yeah. So the same key ingredients that will make the molecules photostable is also the one that causes increased sensitization for most products. So that was the tricky part, and that was where the science and engineering came in.
Right. Super interesting. And your retinol is a 0.1%, right?
0.1%.
Right. So that's like basically like the highest. Yeah. But you don't get sensitivity. No. You don't get peeling, flaky skin. And it's so interesting because it's all obviously getting to where it needs to be. And that's like the key.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what about like retinols? You see retinols sometimes, like even in like Sephora or this that are like, oh, it's a retinol like 5% or it's a retinol to 3%. Like,
first of all, half those don't even get into the cell where they need to be. They sit on the surface of the skin and they cause a lot of irritation, and or they get broken down and they're not. It's not in the right place. It's not where it needs to be. It's where not only it's not effective, but it's where it can cause all these other side effects that you don't want. So if you see these really high percentages, like in Sephora or Ulta, it's usually because they get broken down right away. You can have like 100%, but if it gets deactivated and
if it's not actually getting to where it needs to be,
or it's not getting to where it needs to be, then it's not going to really have the effect. So, or it could be mixed in with other key ingredients that allow it to have a higher percentage, but are just not going to make it effective or stable.
Right.
Or
and I feel like there's so many crazy marketing, like,
oh my gosh,
around that kind of stuff,
And I actually do feel bad for consumers because they're reading all this misinformation. There's no accountability or there's no regulation out there, and it's really hard because people don't know what to believe, and so I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. But if they're following you, that they're good. Then you guys are in the right place. There's a lot of fake science out there, and it's, as dermatologists, it's hard for us not to open our mouths and say anything because we don't want to hurt people's business or say something negative about a skin line. But half the time it's here's my analogy. It's like, say you're fluent in French, right? And you go to an area and people like kind of know a few words in French and they spell it out and you're like, I speak French and I know exactly what you're saying, and that's not true. It's not correct. But when you're taking people's hard-earned money and you're having a product that's not going to do what it's supposed to do, or it's not truly a percent that it says it is, or if you're putting on your surface of your skin and it's not even penetrating through the skin where it's going to have an effect, I mean, we want to protect people from that.
And that's the thing, it's so that drives me crazy too, because there is so much like marketing, just like BS out there, and people like believe it, and
hard.
It's like, people, and they always think they're like, oh, the higher the better percentage wise or this and that, but a lot of times that's a
good topic too. I wanted to make a note of that too, because I think a lot of even my patients will come and they think that the higher percentage the better, or if they want a prescription strength like tazarotene, everybody wants to be on Tazorac, that's not necessarily the best.
Exactly.
So it's just kind of like you want it, and everybody's skin's different, and what works for one person may not work for the other, because everybody has a different histology, and their skin makeup is different, meaning like they may have a different density of sebaceous glands or epidermal thickness or dermal thickness, and what one person can tolerate, it may not be what another person tolerates. But that's not to say that say somebody uses like retinaldehyde or tazarotene or tretinoin or retinol or whatever kind of retinol, everyone's going to have a different reaction and response. And so what works for one person, you can't make these blanket statements that like no.
Well, let's talk about, because I'm just curious, like picking your brain too, because I honestly I've talked to you about this many times. I personally don't like Retin-A because
like Retinaldehyde.
Well, I like your retinol because it doesn't give the inflammation, but Retin-A literally rips my skin apart, and so why like do people get hung up on Retin-A when there's other more elegant formulations
I feel
that
like
don't
maybe
do
they
that?
just don't know. And all vitamin A derivatives are not created equal because they have so much to do with how they're formulated.
Yeah.
Like so the retinaldehydes, you like, or this retinol you like, it just because it's formulated in a certain way,
Yeah.
and that has everything to do with
all-
the formulation and the delivery systems and the vehicle
It's
delivery
key.
systems are more important than the actual type of vitamin A derivative there is. Whether
Right.
it's
which is why
tretinoid,
honestly I don't think
whether it's
Retin-A, they have
retinaldehyde, whether it's
like the
retinol.
delivery system's crap. It's an old formulation that they really could update.
Right.
And it just causes so much inflammation to people's skin.
Right. It all depends. The formulation gets often, overlooked, but I think it's I think to the consumer it's important to not get hung up on one vitamin A derivative type, but the formulation and what else it's engineered with.
Exactly.
And, how
delivery
it's getting
system.
delivery systems. Is it microencapsulated? Is it that's more important than the percentage or the type.
Yes,
to be honest. Exactly.
Yeah. Like you said, key is like microencapsulated liposomal delivery.
Yeah.
Key, like
and
so key.
And intranuclear retention. Those are like the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is like honestly like the best knowledge to give people because there's all these different retinols and and a lot of them don't tell you like if it's microencapsulated or you have no idea if it's like a liposomal delivery or if it even has you have no idea.
Right. I know sometimes patients will come in with a vitamin A derivative that they get at Sephora and they'll say, "Is this good?" I'm like, "Well, there's no. I don't even know what's in here. I can't tell you what's good."
Right.
It's like, it's like what's behind door number 1. I don't know. I can't tell you.
So if it's got the right delivery and the right exactly, it's gonna tell you that.
Or on the website, it will say it if it doesn't say it on the bottle. Yeah, definitely.
But I do agree. I think like the microencapsulated retinol is like an absolute must.
It's different. That's probably why you like it as much as retinaldehyde because
I don't get that irritation.
Retinaldehyde has its benefits for different reasons, but they both kind of do the same thing.
Yeah,
packs a punch, increased efficacy, less sensitization,
and they've been
that's what
proven to be just as effective at like stimulating collagen and elastin as Retin-A. So you just don't have to worry about like
all the sensitization.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what's so funny because some people do get hung up on like, oh, I need to be on Retin-A because it's supposed to be the best. But I'm like, we've come a long way in like formulations and
because
all that.
I think they think because it's prescription versus non-prescription.
Yeah.
But the engineering and formulation in non-prescription cosmeceuticals is like next level to such an extreme that it's oftentimes better than the prescription strength that can cause too much irritation.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like I said, who wants to walk around with like red, peely, flaky, irritated skin? It makes you look older.
Yeah. It's like another analogy. Go to the gym. You can be so sore that you can't walk, or you can be a little bit sore to where you build muscle and you go back to the gym and then you keep building on it. You don't want to like completely have to be home and hiding for a week because your skin's falling off.
Yeah, exactly.
You're shedding your DNA as you walk.
We need a book of like Steph analogies.
Yeah, I love it.
Book of Steph's skin analogies.
I know.
But that's amazing because honestly, we just wanted to like share. Well, I wanted to share. I wanted to bring Steph on to kind of share all the details behind her retinol because it is so next level and so different than any other retinol that you guys will see out there.
Yeah,
It's just formulated in such an amazing way. And like I said, she puts it all out there. She tells you exactly what's in it, the delivery system, and if you're, using a retinol where you're like, I wonder if it's a liposomal, I wonder if it's microencapsulated. Like probably not as effective.
Right.
So
definitely.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do, but it's definitely worth it. That's why it's like, that's why it's liquid gold in this. Yeah. It's just worth it to put in the extra time and, formulation and science in it to make it more effective.
Yeah. And there's no BS, like no BS marketing. It's just like, here it is.
Here it is.
It's amazing. And use it.
Yeah, good. I know. I love it.
But I think that's it for today. We just kind of wanted to introduce a little bit more of the retinol product. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will list it down below for you guys. All the links and all of the product information will be in the description box. As always, just leave us a comment. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching. Steph will be back again for sure. Yay. But we love you guys. Yay. Bye. Bye. Bye.